Are you part of that baby boomer generation and find yourself facing the prospects of divorce? It's an incredibly frightening time for anyone, but when you've been married for 20, 30 years, even if you've only been married 10 years, but you're basically going through yet another divorce at a time in your life when you thought you were planning your retirement, not your recovery, you're probably facing some very unique challenges, unique to your age group. My name is Laura McGee, and I'm the founder of Leave Strong Divorce Coaching, and I want to talk to you today about some of the unique challenges of the Great Divorce and how to position yourself to better heal and recover from this process at your age. I belong to your generation. I'm a baby boomer, and I actually started my own divorce when I was 49 years old. And so I can relate to those of you who are basically having a late life divorce and having to decide how you're going to rebuild your life. You're no longer perhaps focusing your attention on planning your retirement. You're now focusing your attention on how you're going to make all these next steps. Regardless of whether you still have children at home, and many of you will not, you probably still have children. I don't want you to forget that just because your children are no longer under the age of 18 or thoroughly dependent upon you, that they won't be affected by your divorce. Of course they will. Some of you might be in the midst of planning a wedding. Some of you might have a special needs child at home that's going to need some longer term care. And some of you may have kids spread all over the country. How do you begin to have a conversation with a child in New York and one in Minnesota and another one back in San Diego about your divorce? What do you do, call a conference call? These are some of the interesting concerns that people end up facing, and there isn't really one answer. You're going to have to look at your situation. Quite often what we're seeing here in the Great Divorce, and actually it's the only divorce statistic that's on the rise in the United States right now and in Canada. People are finding themselves at a time in their life when they've already come through so many changes. Our parents' generation probably had one career, one marriage. And our generation, most of us have already had several careers, perhaps even more than one marriage. And life has become very different. But we haven't necessarily planned ahead as though it was going to be different. So what about the finances? You might have some very unique concerns around your Social Security, eligibility factors. You need to know what your eligibility would be as an ex-spouse, and if you are eligible, you're going to need some advice with that. What about if you're both living on pensions at this point? How do you determine support when you're already trying to bring your lifestyle back and now manage two homes? Again, you're going to have some very unique financial questions that are going to need to be resolved, and there's special experts that can help you with that kind of advice. And what about the recovery process? If you've been married, I have clients who've been married 30, 40 years contemplating divorce, and one of the fears I hear from them all the time is, how would I even begin to date again? I haven't dated in 30 or 40 years. What am I going to do with the rest of my life? Because I do plan on being here for 20, 30 years, and I do want a partner again. I do want love in my life, and the whole concept is incredibly frightening. How we divorce really impacts our ability to love after divorce. All of these are concerns of anybody going through a divorce, but there's some very unique concerns for those of you who are going through the Great Divorce. If you want to learn more about some tips and strategies to get through this process and to heal and recover more quickly after your divorce, join me here at leavestrong.com. There's a community of people that you already belong to, and they have resources and information that perhaps you haven't even thought of yet. leavestrong.com.